Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. It's clobbering time, so that means we're gonna be nerds and talk about nerd things. We're gonna. This week we're talking about Lady Sif from Marvel Comics, based on the character from mythology, fighting Wonder Woman, and always it's clobbering time is an open invite, meaning anybody could join. You could just let any riffraff like Marcus in. You know, that's how low my standards are.
That's low. I'm trying to play with this a little bit so there's not so much light on me. Like moving.
How you doing, Marcus? How's everything?
Light. Is this any better? I like trying to get this one. Might not be long enough.
If maybe you could just put it just out of the camera so that you have the light, but we don't.
Well, I have to see. I have to get more slack here.
Okay, well, don't worry about it then.
No, I got it.
So there we go. You know, anybody can come in, and I might as well.
Hold on 1 second.
Be smart and tell people about my comic book on my comic page. Oh,
you keep talking.
Marcus, hold on. How can I keep talking? Then hold on, Marcus. This is mixed signals.
Yeah.
So, my comic page is being updated as we speak. I think
that?
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's better for this, right?
So my comic page is being updated as we speak. It's going to include like sets of cards, individual cards, my challenge coins, t-shirts.
That's cool.
All of my swag. So if you've already purchased my comic and you liked it, there's a reason to go check it out again. Maybe there's something that'll catch your eye that I hope you know. So I'm going to have advanced copies of Mary Sue t-shirts and things like that.
Cool.
I even have you could buy a file to 3D print your own little picture.
I'm looking forward to the next issue. When's it out? Next week? Good, thanks.
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
Next week, yeah. Well, Renzo's fast enough.
Go check your mailbox. Yes, issue 2 should be in the mailbox right now.
Well, Renzo's fast enough. The rest of us are slackers.
Renzo is
he's unbelievable.
He's unbelievable.
God bless him. You know, and the other thing about Renzo, and everybody should back it, even if you hate John, for Renzo, because he does John, and the level of detail that he puts in, and the figures and slickness, he threw the pencils and inks, and then he does another book, and it's even more detailed, all sorts of complicated costumes that I would like. That other one, Kneel Before Doomface,
yeah,
which I have to get. My funds, you know, and backing. I wish I could back everybody.
I'm so upset. I've been hanging out with Jesse Blaze Snyder.
Oh, how's he doing?
He's good, and he's fulfilled his comic. And I'm like, "Where's my comic?"
You never backed? Oh my god! I thought you backed him.
He's one of my buddies. I hang out with him in person. And
I know.
So I gotta message him and be like, "Dude, I thought I backed your comic."
It's like
I assume he has some. I could go down to his house and pick it up. But I'm so embarrassed. I thought I backed this comic. But that's a perfect example of I backed so many.
You backed a lot. I have a list.
And I forget some. I think a couple of comics I backed 3 times. And
there's a couple of things like there's a couple of things I want to back, like Perfect 10, but they're already up to 5 issues. I can't really afford to get the old issues, but I want to help out Dave. So that's why I do a lot of linking and drop in links, because I feel bad, because it's a good book. It looks like a great book, and I can't.
It's really good. It's really
I know, and he's got good reviews from people in CG or in our space. I think that like Andy Smith loves him. He liked American Bliss because Andy likes superheroes.
Yeah,
you know, if Andy got his book, I'll ask him. I'm sure he liked your book. He likes superheroes. A lot of the guys don't like superheroes.
Yeah,
I wish they liked them.
I had a few people that told me I would back your book, but I'm so tired of cape shit.
But what do they do? But that's silly.
But you know what? Well, I don't want people to buy it just because they feel obligated.
No, that's true. That's true. But
I love
miss superheroes, you know?
And I would like, without being spoiled, because Marcus knows how I just tell everybody everything. I would like it's going to expand into like everything, you know. The only thing I'd like it to expand, but I'm just not good enough yet, is a detective story, because I have a detective character.
Well, you know how to draw the mystery detective. You got to write it backwards.
Yeah.
You have to have the solution first, apparently. I mean, I'm no expert.
What are you drawing a character as we're talking?
I'm looking at.
Here, I'll make that big. What you drawing? Oh, is that your cowboy Spawn?
Yeah. I hate Spawn.
I don't hate Spawn. You want to know? You want to know a secret? I talked about this morning with Pops. But
okay.
With I don't know if you saw me on Pops.
I've been driving all day. Sometimes I catch. If I don't, I'm subscribed to so many YouTubes. If sometimes I don't get the alerts. I think I'm subscribed to Pops. I have to look.
I'm trying to find the card.
I might rewatch it sometimes.
But Lucius Kane, who's in the backup story.
When I saw that card, and I don't know, that's exactly how I thought Lucius Kane should look.
Well, you're one of the guys that made his look. You know what I mean?
No, I realize just that, and then the way he did the gray. I had a character in my Captain Courage. I like to do stylized hair, so he had a in his beard he had a bolt of white, and everything else was silhouette black. See, I like to do the women's hair. I like Veronica's hair and Archie. That's how I like to do. You can't really get away with it, but that's how I really like to do hair.
So, I talked about. Spawn is the inspiration for that character, believe it or not. Because Spawn's suit is part of his powers, and I was like,
I see.
So me and my friend Jimmy were making up role-playing characters, and he wanted to play a bad guy, and he said to me, "I want to make up a guy called the Suit, and that's going to be his bad guy name." And I was like, "Well, tell me, what does he do?" He goes, "He has this suit on that just makes him more charismatic." And and everybody kind of does his bidding.
I think it's a great idea.
I was like, honestly. Yeah, but that's an NPC. That's not a player. You know what I mean? What are we going to role play? You making business decisions, and you know what I mean? You're not going to be out fighting superheroes. And he was like, yeah. So he gave me the idea, and then I went and made it. Even if you read the comic,
he's gonna sue you. I decided.
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah. The suit has the ability, whatever he needs is in his pocket. The one story that we role played, the suit was in a bathroom washing his hands, and this other guy came in, Philip Manning, who makes a debut in issue 2, the bad industrialist. He comes in washing his hand, and Philip Manning has a ring on his finger, and the suit puts his hand in his pocket and pulls out the same ring and puts it on, and the guy goes, "Oh, you're in the same secret society as me," and that's how he goes and makes his contact. Whatever he needs at that particular moment. But the thing is, he also learned that he doesn't generate these things. So that ring was actually missing. So that ring actually caused a problem because somebody else was killed and his ring was stolen. So he got pinned as the murderer. You know what I mean? That photograph that he pulled out of his pocket, that somebody took that picture and lost it. And it ended up in his pocket.
It had to be generated from somewhere.
Right.
Interesting. Interesting.
And he could do more with the suit. If anybody buys the suit card, they'll be on my website. On the Fun My Comics site, you can get all 7 cards for $10, or you can buy for $2 a piece. It actually tells you exactly what his powers are. And like Spawn, when he uses up his energy, he gets claimed by the devil, and he's just going to get like Rumpelstiltskin right to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike Todd McFarlane, I'm not changing that. That was my favorite thing about Peter.
I love being on that show, and I like to draw. They make me draw stuff I would never draw. It's I'm saying, I have drawings of Iron Man. I have drawings of commissions of Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. I like to draw Captain America. I like to draw Superman. And then one of the guys said, I think it was Don, he goes, "I never drew Iron Man." And I'm like, because they're drawing Spawn, and they're drawing. I thought Gunslinger Spawn was more interesting. Or this week is going to be 90s bad girls. I'm like, okay.
You know what's funny? Don got my comic today.
Yeah.
He asked me to come into the studio, and he wants to do a live review with me there.
Yeah. So that's what I tell.
Draw the patriarch then. Everybody draw the patriarch.
We could make that. There's one thing about it, we're fluid. I haven't started my thought was, and this is the secret, was Bad Girls, 90s Bad Girls. I was in RT Bear stream, and he was in our show. And I said, well, what am I going to draw? I don't even like Image that much. Art, he's an Image guy. And he goes, well, White, my character White is Image. Was in the 90s. You could draw White. I go, I'll draw White, sure. Oh, if you draw it, send it to me. Scan it and send it to me. I'm like, I'm drawing White. Like,
yeah.
That's almost like the coincidences that, who knows, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you watched my show last night when I had Ed and we talked about. You were in.
I saw some of it. Yeah, I couldn't see all of it. But,
I love his art, and I said, I'm not telling you what to do, but I said, I think you should because he, I was like, draw. He likes the Ripper comics. I was like, draw fan art of the Ripper characters and make sure.
If you like, that's another thing. If you like the characters, I don't care. You like the characters. I'm not arguing with anybody about any of that. I actually like Isam's costume. His costume's fine to me.
Yeah, his costume's a good costume.
I'm not crazy for Alpha Core's costumes. They're just kind of plain and green. But
well, they're uniforms rather than superheroes.
No, I know. I liked his costume. Everybody at the beginning was doing fan art. It is what it is. This should be.
But I was trying to get he wants to get hired by people. I was like, so then I was telling him a story. Why can't I think of his name? The colorist for Cyberfrog. What?
Kyle Ritter.
Kyle, because Ethan just put out drawings, black and whites, and Kyle just colored it.
It'll work.
You know what I mean? I told him, I said, your art is so good, and I don't know if it is so good. I said, draw all of these Isom characters,
if you like. But look at who they get hired, and they use all sorts of guys for their second books. John Malin uses for guys that are just like the guy who does his whatever his book that he's going to do that he does. I don't know all his books. They use all sorts of guys. They find the guys doing Frankenstein, Joe Frankenstein 3. Was just doing web comics when Chuck found him and did strips for Chuck. And they'll use it. If they like you, they'll use you. It doesn't matter. It could be anybody. It could be art. He found Pedro Ang, and Pedro Ang's doing his second comic. Never did a comic before. He was an animator. And he's doing this supplement book. So you never know.
Yeah, so that was my advice to him. You gotta
that's what I would do, because he will do it. And if there's a fan art contest, like if Isom has or whatever, if they have another, he ought to do the fan art contest. That's how Shane found people. That's how Ripper using his fan art winners does Bloodruth. The fan art winner does Bloodruth. So cool. It works out.
So I don't know if you're familiar with DC Miller. He's always in my chats. He sent me
I know DC Miller.
Of Bikini Girl, a character that's not even in a comic yet. And now I'm like, if Eddie is Doom does well, I want to hire him to do
Justin Belmont has a fan art thing, and I'll be in my pencils down drawing is going to be in Justin's comic. That's why everybody should back Justin's comic so you can see my debut.
Tony's way ahead of us, and Tony, thank you for focusing my fragmented.
Sorry, we get into other things, guys.
Sorry, it's fun to talk. It's fun to talk. It's a conversation, So anyway, tonight we're talking. It's Clobbering time. And for those of you who've never seen Clobbering time before, this is where us geeks, we get together, and because we're not in the same state, same comic book store. Remember those days when we were kids? You go to the comic book store, and or you're in the playground. You're like, "What are you stupid? Spider-Man could beat up Thor, and Thor could beat up Green Lantern," and you just fought, and it was fun. So that's what we're doing here, and we kind of pick topics at the end of the night. So at the end of the night, think about who would be good for next week. And I'm so mad I didn't realize it was Friday the 13th. This would have been perfect for like Frankenstein versus Dracula or something like that. I'm so mad. But anyway, we got Sif, comic book version of Sif versus Wonder Woman. And Tony Grigo brings up a good point. Wonder Woman's power levels are all over the place. Golden Age Wonder Woman's not as strong as post-crisis. So which one are we talking about? So there we go.
But Golden Age Wonder Woman, I was reading up on Golden. It was supposed to be as strong. Eventually, she was supposed to be stronger than Hercules, and that's around the Silver Age. They didn't portray her as such, even in her own comic, which was like in the '60s was more like kind of like a superhero romance book, as opposed to. But she fought all sorts of weirdos.
So do you want to start? Do you want to pick Sif or do you want to pick Wonder Woman?
I guess I'll pick Wonder Woman. Sif, there's not much to Sif. I mean, I was reading the Norse mythology Sif that has nothing to do with the real Sif,
right?
The comic Sif. That would be the real Sif. Sorry, I apologize since you like Norse mythology. I got that backwards. So Wonder Woman mostly was made out of clay by Hippolyta and created to be a clay baby, and she grew up on Themyscira. Now it's the island of the Lesbos. It wasn't always that way, and supposed to have the powers stronger than Hercules, faster than Hermes, have powers of a host of gods, similar to Shazam, as a matter of fact, of the Greek gods. And she's either really tied to the Greek gods or she's really not. And George Perez brought them back and made it really tied up. Whereas the Golden Age was kind of like a female Captain America. She came over to fight the Nazis for America, and that's why she's a red, white, and blue costume, and she had an eagle on it. And it's created by William Marston in Rye, New York, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really? I didn't know he was from New York.
He was from Rye, and he was in a polyamorous relationship, and Wonder Woman's based on his wife and girlfriend. It was like a throuple, what they would call today.
Yeah.
It's the secret of Wonder Woman, and he was into bondage.
Did you see the movie?
He was also the creator of the polygraph.
Right. He invented the lie detector.
Which is why Wonder Woman ties people up and makes them tell the truth, because she had a whole ton of bondage covers. And they tried to make it was not as sexual as you think, but it still was. That was his thing. And he wrote Wonder Woman for years, into the 50s. And then Robert Kanigher wrote her. I mean, he wrote Wonder Woman almost to his death, and they couldn't. And Harry Peter drew Wonder Woman for most of that time until DC fully took her over. And one of the keys of Wonder Woman is that she can't, if they don't publish a Wonder Woman comic every month, DC loses the license back to the estate.
Right.
So of all the three triple Trinity, she never sold. So it wasn't a romance comic. It was super popular. It wasn't really a superhero comic. What were they going to do with it? And when they did cancel Wonder Woman, like after Crisis, Trina Robbins had to do a 4-issue limited series. They couldn't have 4 months without Wonder Woman. They'd lose the license.
Right.
It's the oddest thing. And right now, she's immensely powerful. She's as powerful as that character looks there. It looks like Jose Garcia Lopez should always draw her. And she's as strong as Superman, I think, in the current day, or at least since Crisis.
Right.
She's as strong as Superman. She couldn't always fly. I remember in the 60s and early 70s, she glide on. She
would glide on wind.
But now she officially flies. She's no need for invisible airplane. And really what made her kind of popular is Linda Carter. Right. Linda Carter TV show and even it was only on like 4 years, that would really solidified Wonder Woman back, because they would get rid of Wonder Woman. Her powers were taken away. She wore a white jumpsuit and did karate, and solved mysteries in her comic.
Yeah, Danny O'Neill made, and it's funny because it said the women's lib issue, and on the cover she was powerless and tied to a chair.
Tied up, a great comic by Catherine Jeffrey Jones. Yeah,
I always thought that was funny, But Wonder Woman, like you said, Wonder Woman has a spotty, like inconsistent power level.
She really does.
She can glide. She has the invisible jet. She doesn't have the invisible jet. When John. My familiarity with her is when they rebooted her with George Perez.
That's mostly mine, yeah.
Right. I didn't particularly like Wonder Woman. I mean, I'm a flesh and blood American male. I liked Linda Carter running around in that outfit, but I didn't particularly care about Wonder Woman. And it was Wonder Woman comics pre-Crisis were the kind of comics that I goofed on.
Right.
Look how silly these are. Like I remember, like in the months before Crisis, she was like in an airplane and there was like elephants, like cartoon looking elephants with wings. And I'm like, this is what they're making.
Yeah, that's that Trina Robbins thing.
You know what I mean? And I was like, this. And then George Perez came out, and of course I was buying it. Anything George Perez. It was so.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
It was like 100 issues of some of the best comics, and then George William Wesner Loebs took it over, and John Byrne took it over.
John Byrne had a nice run.
And Luke, what's his name? Luke, I can't remember. Eric Luke, I think is the guy who created Ghost.
I remember him.
A really good run on Wonder Woman. I will say that until I almost like 200 issues or so of Wonder Woman post-crisis were phenomenally good comics. And even in those, her power levels were different. Like, she didn't have the invisible plane until John Byrne gave her the plane. And then they fixed her continuity. That Hippolyta was the gold.
Byrne regret. I just read about that, and I remember this. Byrne regretted that he believed that Wonder Woman has been alive thousands of years.
Right.
Like kind of like the TV show Wonder Woman was like that, which is not surprising from Byrne. And he kind of regretted he loved what George Perez did, but George Perez made her 25 years old when he came over. So who was the Wonder Woman in World War II? So he created that Hippolyta was the Wonder Woman in World War II. Right. And I kind of enjoyed it. You know
what I kind of enjoyed? John Byrne ain't above a little sexiness. He adds a little soap opera to his, but there was a couple of scenes of her in bed with Wildcat. And I don't know. I just like that this pug, what's the word? Pugilist guy with no powers was getting all the hottest women in DC.
Well, in the TV show, Batman and Wonder Woman, in the cartoon show, in the cartoon, in Justice League and Ultimate Justice League, whatever they called it, Batman, there was romantic overtones in there,
right? Which
was really interesting. But she's one of the Trinity now because they have to have the woman Trinity, And I don't know how popular. I don't know if
she's probably more popular now than she's ever been with that Gal Gadot movie.
Probably. Oh yeah. Well, the first one anyway.
The first one I thought was really good. Problems with the CGI fight at the end, but overall, that's probably my favorite of the new DC movies.
The second one was supposed to be really bad.
I didn't see it.
So apparently,
I didn't see it. Yeah, Tony Grigo, Marston's sister's aunt's wife.
So I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, right. Marston's girlfriend, because he married one of them, and it was his student that joined them. Her aunt was Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood, and that's what brought him into orbit. He kind of was like, "Oh, look, isn't your aunt Margaret Sanger?" And then but there's a good movie. Is the movie just called Wonder Woman or something like that, or? But there's a good movie on streaming.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, there was a show that the Walking Dead guy did for a while on Discovery or History about the secrets of the comic books.
Oh, I gotta watch that. I didn't know that.
Secret History of comic books, and that's what Wonder Woman. He goes through the whole Wonder Woman story.
But there's a whole movie, and
that's right. There is a movie. You're right.
The movie, it's gonna drive me nuts now. Wonder Woman or something like that, or whatever. But it's a movie about Marston, the troubles he went into. He got involved with the censorship and everything like that. They called him a pervert, and then the poor guy invented the lie detector and didn't patent it. He would have been richer than anything.
Have you ever been strapped to a lie detector?
No,
I have twice.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything, and people stole money from the store I was at, so they lie detected everybody who worked there.
I always kind of wanted to. I went to
a lot of fun.
Thing and I did the e-meter, and then I explained to them how it works as an electrician, and they
It wasn't a lot of fun. It's not that hard. I mean, to tell the truth, it doesn't matter.
So what do we think? So since we got Smokey the Concat asking the obvious question, Gail or Linda, who wins in your mind? Linda.
I mean, Gail Gadot is really hot too.
I think they're both stunningly beautiful women, but I got to go with Linda. Linda Carter. I actually met her in person once.
Did you?
In 1992 in the World Trade Center at an ATM. This person in front of me was taking forever. And if you know me, you know that my patience could be taxed. So I'm like sitting there waiting for this person. And I'm like, what's going on? And I turn around to commiserate with the person behind me. And I'm like, this isn't. And it's Linda Carter. She towers over me. She was beautiful. So in 1992, I don't know how old she was, but she was, and she goes, "Oh, it's not that bad." And I'm like, "No, it's not." Wonder Woman just smiled at me. It's not that bad, So beautiful woman. So, and that's nothing against Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot, oh my God. My only criticism with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is she's too slight. I would have liked like a more like a Gina Carano type to play Wonder Woman, like
Yeah, a
longer
little,
shoulders but still feminine and pretty. You know
a
what I
little
mean?
bustier too. Because
Yeah.
we're so used to Linda Carter. She had that tall, like 5'10" athletic build with the curves everywhere. Yeah.
Oh man, can you imagine if Julie Newmar in the Catwoman outfit and Linda Carter the one had a fight? Oh my God!
Oh, please. I'll be in my bunk.
Yeah, I'll catch. Good night, everybody. The free crisis Amazon for file of the Goddess of Theater was celibate. Not too much now, I'm afraid. Yeah, the pre-crisis, yes. Well, were they celibate? Did they were virgins, but were they celibate? I don't know.
I don't know. Wonder Woman.
I'm with you, John. I never cared much for Wonder Woman, but I loved Linda Carter. Yeah, George Perez got me to really, really like the character. Marston was a degenerate looking to share his love of BDSM with children.
Well, then Tony, he was ahead of his time.
He was a true progressive. Yeah, John turned around and was looking at the. You know what I noticed first, because she was in like a business attire. First thing I noticed was her eyes. Oh my God! She was just beautiful. I also met Brooke Shields. I was working at a gas station in the Hamptons, and it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just sitting there. I'm blasting punk rock, and in comes this girl, super tall. Brooke Shields is tall. Oh my God! I think she's taller than
6 feet.
Carter. And you knew she was pretty as soon as she walked in, but she was like this. And I'm like, "Can I help you?" And she goes, "Do you have a restroom?" And we don't usually at that gas station. We didn't let people use the restroom, but I said, "Yeah, right over there." Gorgeous women could use the restroom. And then she came out all smiles. I think she had like a blemish or her makeup was messed up or whatever. And she came out and she like bought something. And I was like, "You're Brooke Shields." She's like, "Yes, I am." And the funny thing is, my friend Phil.
Yes, I am. That's a
my
great
friend
answer.
Phil. We just had a conversation like a couple of days earlier. Who's your dream date? And he was like, "Oh, Brooke Shields. I love Brooke." Phil was filling up his gas tank. So while she's talking to me, I'm going like this, banging on the window, because and Phil's going like this. He's not looking at me. And he gets in the car, drive away. I was like, Phil was 6'6". He could have got Brooke Shields, But there you go. Sure, pal. Yeah. She wasn't in the Wonder Woman outfit. If she was in the Wonder Woman outfit, yeah. But she smiled and she had those ice blue eyes. She was stunning. No other way to describe it. Stunning.
Who drew that picture of this Wonder Woman?
I just Googled Wonder Woman and then went down the list.
That's a nice one. I like that.
That's what it caught my
eye. That's my favorite type of costume.
So we talked meta. So let's. What are her powers? So she's super strong. She could fly. Does she or does she not have invulnerability?
I think she has some vulnerability.
Right, but then doesn't that make the bracelets and bullets redundant?
Well, that makes it a waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she's not completely invulnerable.
Yeah, I would have to say that she has to like she can't. She's taking punches from like super beings and dark side and stuff.
Well, but she didn't Bernhatter fight Doomsday?
Right. Yeah.
To kind of say she's really this powerful, guys, and she's not just Wonder Woman.
Right. So originally she had the bullets and bracelets. Do you remember what her original weakness was?
When they tied her up, she lost all her powers.
If a man ties her up, she loses her power. And do you remember what the bracelets are called?
That I don't remember.
They're called the bracelets of submission.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I know.
Tony's right.
Right on the nose there, Dr. Marston.
Jeez. So it says, let's see. Oh, there's just so many. They have listed Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, Modern Age,
right,
which is Crisis, War of the Gods. I got War of the Gods. DC's been through. The problem with doing the DC characters in general is that they've been through so many versions of the character that like the question, which one are we looking at? You know what I mean? I could accept like Golden Age and Silver Age.
That there's 4 Batmans, so we need to clarify which Batman.
Right. This is like there's like they just listed 4 Wonder Womans, whereas the Marvel person is like 1 Sif.
Right.
A Sif and a half,
well,
1 4.
DC, because they had the Golden Age Wonder Woman as a separate character. They met each other in the Crisis.
Oh, I know.
And then there's the argument that the Silver Age was another version because in the Golden Age, like Hippolyta had black hair, and then they changed it to blonde hair. So there's an argument to be made that the Silver Age Wonder Woman is a whole nother version.
There is.
Yeah, and then the Bronze Age version, and now again maybe the Modern Age is a whole nother. But so she has this magic lasso that was made from the girdle of Hippolyta, which was crafted by Hephaestus. So it's up there. If you ask me, it's up there with like Captain America's shield. Is like it's unbreakable. Like, do you agree or disagree that if she was to tie up Superman can't break that?
No, it's magic. Superman
right.
can't break it.
Yeah, it's like legendary. It's got like power, and then you have to tell the truth. When you. So when Wonder Woman ties you up, you're like, man, those boobies are sweet, because you got to tell the truth. Yes, Tony Grigo brings up the Amazons of mythology were missing a boob. Up one off, depending on whether or not they were right or left. Right. Amazon literally means without a breast. That's the literal translation of the word Amazon.
Well, don't tell Linda Carter that.
According to the legends, they would cut it off at puberty and then stick a torch and burn it. How horrible,
Well,
so
again, way ahead of their time.
Yeah.
That's so true. It says here, I was looking this up since we were at a question about she's not completely invulnerable. She is highly resistant to great amounts of concussive force and extreme temperatures. However, edged weapons or projectiles apply with a sufficient force able to pierce her skin. So they that's like, where's my thing? That's like the easy way to say, well, this is why she needs bracelets,
I
fix.
What is it going to say? Oh, during the John Byrne run, they elevated her to a goddess. She became the goddess of truth and joy.
Yes, they did. And then they killed her, right?
And then they demoted her back. Yeah, I think she died and went back to whatever status. But then during the Eric Luke run, if that's his name,
I didn't read that run.
They changed her origin to she's the daughter of Zeus. That she was like,
yes, I did read that. That she's the daughter of Zeus and Aphrodite, right? Or Hippolyta.
Oh, Hippolyta.
Well, the legend, like I don't know. I mean, Perez had her raped by Hercules, right?
Well, yeah, had her, yeah, but that's from Greek mythology.
Right. Well, yeah, right.
But yeah, so again, that's a fourth character because George Perez clearly had her carved out of stone, and then like she was the soul of a woman who was killed by male violence, and the patriarchy went into this thing and animated it and stuff. And then later on, she's the daughter of Zeus.
Yeah, Perez, that was early woke for him,
Yeah. So again,
we call that woke now. We don't call it woke anymore. Yeah, back then though.
So, like, normally I would pick a version, but we'll get to that during the fight. So, anything else we need to talk about Wonder Woman? Because I have another stream at 9:30. I'm a guest on.
Yeah, we gotta get to that.
Wasn't she the daughter of Ares? No, she was. As far as I remember, she was the daughter of Zeus, but they could have changed it.
She was. They had her trained by Ares.
She was trained by Ares, but yes, they made her the daughter of Zeus and Hippolyta, and same with the other Wonder Girl with the blonde hair. She was also a daughter of Zeus. Cassie, was that her name? Cassie Sandsmark or something. But anyway, let's talk about Sif now. So Sif is in the Greek the Norse mythological character of Sif is Thor's wife, and she's a minor goddess. The only real story about her in the myths is that Loki, just to be a jerk, cut off all of her hair. She had this beautiful blonde hair.
That's right.
And he cut off all of her hair, and Thor went berserkowitz, and Loki realized I'd done messed up Aaron, and he went and he begged the dwarves to make more new hair for Sif. And they said, "What are you going to pay with?" He said, "Nothing." And he said, "All right, we'll make it out of nothing." So they used darkness, and they gave her jet black hair. And when Thor saw her, Thor forgot about Loki, grabbed his main squeeze, and went to do some sweet, sweet loving because she looked even better with the dark hair. So, so somewhere along that they say that's like the tale of sunrise going into sunset. So she's maybe the goddess of the dawn. Other people say that she's the goddess of skill in combat, but I don't see that in mythology. But the Jack Kirby version, that she's the goddess of skill in combat. She's almost like Athena, except Athena's the virgin goddess. She's Sif. She's like the fourth member of the Warriors 3 in the movie. So Sif is more badass in the comics than she ever was in the mythology.
And she was a friend of Balder and Thor since they were kids.
Yeah.
So they grew up together, and Thor, she was destined to be with Thor, but Balder always had unrequited love for her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, except then they had then they hooked Balder up with Carnilla.
Yeah,
which kind of the really good evil witch. Yeah. And then they had, Simonson had her go with what's his face, the horse face.
Oh, Beta Ray Bill. Yeah, she left.
Beta Ray Bill, which I was like, yeah, but all right, whatever you want to do, it's fine.
I thought you meant AOC, but anyway, so
well, no, Sif may be modern or lesbian now. She wasn't when I read about her, so I do not know. They're all lesbians, I suppose.
So it did okay. So, oh my God, I have to agree. Jamie Alexander was the perfect woman to play Sif, and she could have played Wonder Woman because she's got
what she'd be a good Wonder Woman too.
She's a big woman, but I don't mean thick. She's just physically intimidating. She's got big shoulders. She's muscular, but she's still feminine, and you know what I mean. Like there's a couple of women in wrestling or athletes that have that same athletic. Gal Gadot, as beautiful as she is, and I like her. She seems like a cool person. She's just so slight. You know what I mean? She's like a waif. But whereas Jamie Alexander, oh my God, what is the word? Zaftig? She's got that va 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 boom to her.
Right.
Yeah. In Norse mythology, Thor is redheaded and has a huge beer belly. Yeah, and he has a big beard. He's got a belly. Yeah, and he's not that nice. I've been doing a lot of research with Norse mythology for a comic that I want to work on, that Renzo might be doing some promo posters for to whet everybody's appetite. I'll reveal it at that point. But Odin is not nice. Thor is not nice, and Loki starts out kind of good, and then just turns into a total prick towards the end, like irredeemably evil.
Well, that's like the way all the Greek gods are kind of like that too. Like Zeus wasn't so nice.
Oh no, the Greek
raping and pillaging, raping anything that moved.
Yeah, the Greek gods. It's almost weird when they're not the bad guys. Oh, I just realized I didn't put up a picture of Sif. So like, yeah, I would say like the Greek gods are kind of like bad guys in a lot of their own stories.
In a lot of ways. Well, they're you know what? It's like doing this. They're allegory stories. They're not necessarily good versus evil stories. These myths. It's like I do the Mythic America stuff, and those stories I do, they're not really story. They're not good guys and bad guys. They're just kind of stories of what happened. They're myths. They don't necessarily have a protagonist. We're looking for a protagonist like in a comic book, and I don't feel like myths and legends always have that. There's always a trickster god. There's always a super strong one. That type of thing.
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. So
that's one of the things. Again, I keep saying this. If a comic goes around, I want to explore the gods and stuff like that. Of course, they're early superheroes, but they were worshipped as gods. But anyway, so Sif in the comics, what could she do? Well, she's an excellent sword fighter. She could hold her own as one of the best warriors in Asgard, and Asgard in the comics is the top of the line fighters. So when people suggested Sif versus Wonder Woman, I don't think it's as clear cut as everybody says. She doesn't have the standout stories that Wonder Woman has, nor does she have the long comic book history. But I have a soft spot because I love the Norse myths. I also love the Greek myths. But to me, the Norse gods are like more heroic because they're doomed to die.
Right. There's always a Valhalla. There's
Where
always
the
a
Greek
Ragnarok
gods are
story.
just indestructible. There's no concept of them dying. So I have a soft. So I'm rooting for Sif. But how do you think the fight would go? Like I picture like.
Well,
I don't know.
I think that Wonder Woman has more powers. One of the things that's always happened in these things, the chat always says, "Well, this one's a warrior woman, or this one." They're both trained as warriors. So with swords, but she may be better with a sword than Wonder Woman. I mean, does Wonder Woman carrying her sword and shield?
Well, everyone's like, just that picture that I showed had Wonder Woman with the sword, but she's not like renowned for her sword. Where Sif, she's almost always shown with a sword. Either it's in the scabbard, she's wearing it, or
right. But Sif doesn't fly, and Wonder Woman should be stronger than Sif because Sif's as strong as strong as every Asgardian, and we know that Asgardians in the Marvel comics are super strong.
Right.
Even when Thor had his power halved, he still was stronger than Spider-Man. He was still up there as strength. So she's strong enough, but she's not as strong as Superman.
I want to address what Logic says. Odin is 3/4 bald. Yeah, he's older with male pattern baldness. And cruel. Yeah, he's called the gallows god. There's a lot of stories of Odin that are, he's not the good guy. And Gungnir, an awesome weapon, and Thor's hammer doesn't return to his head. I just been reading Norse mythology, and they said, according to what book was I just reading, that the hammer returns to, like, he threw it at the giant. And that giant was really an illusion. It was really a mountain range, and it hit the mountain range, and the hammer came back to his hand. I read it in 2 different mythology books that the hammer comes back to his hand. But one of the books actually said that the hammer would get big, gigantic.
I've read that.
The giant, and then shrink back down into his hand. But I've only seen that in one book.
The key to the hammer also, it was a big deal that it was a short handle, because most of the hammers would have the big handle like this.
Right.
And had a short handle. And what's interesting that in Marvel Comics itself, early Thor had a long handle, a longish handle, and it shrunk eventually to what it is. Right.
Yeah. Most handles would be two-handed, used almost like a and stuff. So there we go. So why would they fight? Again, we'll talk about bad guys.
I love that.
Wonder Woman, I don't think anybody could argue. Wonder Woman has a better rogues gallery because Sif doesn't even have a rogues gallery.
No, Sif is just
gallery is Thor's rogues gallery. If you want to say the Midgard Serpent, Fenris Wolf, and the Destroyer, and you know what I mean. But she doesn't have like an enemy that just fights Sif, whereas Wonder Woman has the Cheetah, the Silver Swan, Ares. Wonder Woman has a rogues gallery. But okay, so why do they fight? I would picture like the same reasons why Thor would fight Hercules. Like almost like send your champion to see who's better kind of thing.
Right.
And it's funny because when you go to Asgard, none of the gods fly. Like I always thought it was funny. Thor flies around Earth. He goes to Asgard. He rides a horse.
Well, Thor doesn't really fly.
Yeah, he throws the hammer.
The hammer carries him around, and it depends on who's drawing him. Whether he's not, when they show him and he's spinning his hammer, he's not supposed to defy gravity. It's more like he's being dragged along by the hammer.
In Norse mythology, Mjolnir hits whatever he throws. Yeah, to me that always took it's same with Gungnir. To me, it always hits. That kind of diminishes the hero. Oh, so okay, so it's what I mean. If it always hits, then you're not the best at it. Not that it returns. Same with Gungnir, Odin's spear. We all know set to return his hand once in battle.
I have a question. So in Norse mythology, can anybody pick up the hammer? Or only Thor? Or
in from what I read, it's so heavy that only Thor could pick it up because he's the strongest, but it never said there was an enchantment that you couldn't pick it up.
Now,
because
does he have to wear the belt of strength to pick it up?
Loki steals the hammer and gives it to the giants, and then Thor has to dress up like a woman to get it back.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? And one of the giants shape changes into a woman and steals the hammer. But then there's this story where Odin, with Thor, was trying to get to the sacred well of Mimir, and there's a branch of the Rainbow Bridge, and he couldn't bring the hammer because it was so heavy it would shatter the bridge. So Odin had to go a different way and cross this fjord and get it back.
Did he have to wear his belt of strength to carry that?
Yeah, he doubled the strength. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he wore this belt of strength, and then he wore iron gloves.
Iron gloves.
The hammer got so hot in the midst of battle that it would burn people.
That's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Thor wore the gloves towards the end of the Simonson run. But anyway, Sif. So the only thing we know about Sif in the comics is that she's probably the best female swordsman warrior in Asgard. You know, I would say like Brunhilde the Valkyrie would probably be two, but like Frigga is not known as a warrior. And Freya, geez, is Freya even in Marvel Comics? That's a missed opportunity.
She's probably been in, but not often.
Yeah. So now they're fighting. You know what I mean? Like there's some sort of godlike realm secrets. Zeus is pissed off at Odin, and now they're fighting. I can't help but like picture like the Rainbow Bridge is onto Themyscira, you know, and she comes down off the bridge, and Wonder Woman's like, "I love this, my sisters."
Well, that's interesting. I think it's more likely that the Amazons would take Sif as one of their own as opposed to a fight. To be honest,
right, yeah,
it's not that much different.
They would end up drinking together. You know what I mean?
They'd be like, "What? Another one of us?" They'd probably think maybe she would be a lost Amazonian.
Right. Oh yeah.
I could see that. Oh, the lost Amazonian. No, I'm from the North. What are you talking about? Well,
I just noticed that we have 10 minutes because at 9:30 I got to go to MSK.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm going to ask people to start coming up with next week. But like you said, Wonder Woman flies. That's such a tactical advantage, and to me, that's one of the main reasons why Superman's going to beat the Hulk, because you know what I mean. The power of like Superman could change his course, and so could Wonder Woman. So, I mean, you could also say she could come down the invisible jet and just strafe her with machine gun bullets.
Well,
but, you know,
she flies and she's stronger. She's just even if the sword's equal, and she's got the bracelets. Even if she has the bracelets block the sword more often than not. If Sif could hurt her, that I'm sure of. But Wonder Woman is stronger and she can fly. I think Wonder Woman wins. Yeah, and well, you also said that, you know, Wonder Woman is resistant to damage, but swords and bullets could pierce her. No, she could get cut. Yeah. So this is a real fight. You know, this during Gail and Aaron Lopresti's run, Wonder Woman was injured for a lot of that. They beat the heck out of her. So yeah. So I'm with you. I'm calling Wonder Woman. Does anybody have a surprise? I think the first comment in the whole chat called it for Sif. Or Tony said, I like Sif better. You know, I don't know. I just like something about Sif I like. I don't know. I guess I'm a thigh. Well, it's one of those you're looking at it like a writer. So Sif is like a blank slate. People haven't done a whole lot with her, and you're thinking I could do so much with Sif. So I like Sif better. It's like liking Wonder Man. Like I always like some of the, you know, when Hawkeye was Goliath. Like these things that just aren't really developed, and you think you could develop them and they look cool. But logically, I think they would, you know, like respect each other and like end up drinking together and hanging out, you know, like they would have you seen the secrets on Themyscira? And like, so maybe like I could picture maybe the fight is like she shows up and they test her to see if she could join the sisterhood or something like that. But I do see Wonder Woman defeating her, but I don't see her being a pushover. You know, it would be a good dramatic fight. And if it was well choreographed, I think it would be a real cool comic. You know, it would be a fun comic, but I do see Wonder Woman winning. What anybody chat? What do you think? We got Logic Comics taking us right to the gutter. Right to the gutter. Right to the gutter. Which is not a Logic's finest thing, but yeah, no, I'm surprised. Yeah.
Well, even Vulcans go into Pon farr once every 7 years.
That's funny.
But it's Norse mythology, not hero stories. Yeah.
No, that's right. That was, yeah.
I watched Superman Red Son and Woman was beating up Celestials, and that's that. No.
I read Superman's Red Son. I didn't watch the cartoon.
I Celestials in the comics should be like unbeatable. Like the only time I've ever seen them defeated was the Tom Falco run with Wonder Woman's powers were at the same frequency, and I don't know.
To me, the ultimate Wonder Woman is, well, there's two of them. It's when Alex Ross did it with Paul Dini in that big one where she was with kids in Africa and stuff, and then again in the other book, in the book with Mark Waid. To me, like, that's the ultimate Wonder Woman. Like, she's hardened. She's a warrior woman. Nobody's going to beat her no matter what. Tony has a point. Logically, the pre-crisis Wonder Woman would get her ass kicked. The 70s Wonder Woman was powerful. The 60s Wonder Woman that Ross Andrew drew was not. They just didn't have her do a whole lot,
Yeah. But I think even the George Perez one would have a tough time with Sif.
I don't know how strong was the George Perez one. I mean,
I don't think
Byrne that leveled her way up, right?
Yeah, Byrne.
I read I read all those Wonder Womans.
Yeah, she got more and more powerful as the series went up, but that's normal for every. And
series. Like the Deodato Wonder Woman, when she lost being Wonder Woman to Artemis, I didn't think she was that powerful, but she was always fighting like people of similar powers.
Well, yeah, the Artemis version, because Deanna, she's special even among the Amazonians.
They always show her winning all the contests, the Olympic.
Artemis was almost like Batman as Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? Like she was like a normal Amazonian. She was. I thought she was like more depowered, which kind of makes her a little bit more interesting. I kind of have a thing for the weaker superheroes, It
was the bad girl time, so yeah, they all had thongs, and Wonder Woman had a thong, and Artemis had a thong, and
Wonder Woman
worked bad girls. They were ready to take on She and Lady Death,
Yeah. So I'm gonna go because I'm gonna be on MSK on
I have to look
30. So if you go to MSK, I think I might be able to stream it all on my channel, I think he's going to be reviewing my comic, so pray for me.
MSK is crazy, though.
Yeah.
I remember when you've been on him before.
Tomorrow, I'm going to be with Marcus on Don's studio. Don wants to. He just put this on Twitter. He just got my comic. So,
I think I'll. You know what? I'm going to talk to him in the back room, and maybe we should draw the Patriarch this week. We don't have enough stuff on Mary Sue to draw her, really. It's Smokey, yeah. So maybe I can get him to change. It would be an idea. I mean, I drew him once before, but I could do something else.
Sydney Sweeney as Power Girl is like the perfect casting, and if they don't do it, it really is the stupidest. It's almost just like everybody in Hollywood just like, oh yeah, Sydney Sweeney's going to play Power Girl.
She's something else.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go to
so what do we think for next week, guys?
Oh, that's right. Well, I drew Deadpool versus Juggernaut. How about that? No, I'm kidding. Does anybody in the chat have an idea?
Anybody have a chat for next week's?
I'm bad at coming up with these.
Oh, my wife just wants Santa versus Krampus.
Oh, Santa. Here.
Is it the last one before Christmas?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
You guys will do Santa, because if I realized today was Friday the 13th, I definitely would have did Jason Voorhees versus any one of those slashers, Yes, we'll do Santa versus Krampus.
For Santa, see?
We'll do Santa versus Krampus just to do a Christmas.
I like Logic's Finest idea. That's good.
Yeah, he wants to start. He wants to start a petition. Hercules versus Thor. That's a good one too.
That's a good one.
But yeah, since it's going to be right before, it's going to be the last. It's clobbering time before Christmas. So we'll do a Christmas one. Santa versus Krampus, and maybe
You guys will have to read up.
I almost spoiled something, but I've been reading up on Santa Claus and Krampus. All right, so I'm going to go because I got 2 minutes. He didn't send me the link yet, but so all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.